a slightly different direction. Who here is familiar with fracking? Oh, I'm wondering if the fracking you're familiar with is the fracking that these people are familiar with. All right, so fracking, the oil thing, right? It's about something about like knocking like into the stone, drilling into it to create fissures so that oil and, I don't know, gas, but like oil for sure, instead of being where it is and like flowing where it wants to flow, where nature wants it to be, then this is a way of like getting in there and making it, come up where we want it to, right? Where the oil companies want it to. And from the oil companies' perspective, this is a good thing. This is a positive thing. This is like, hey, aren't we being innovative and creative kind of thing? Aren't we doing something that allows us to be more profitable and offer this resource, to more people in the world more conveniently, let's say, okay? And then there's also the damage that it causes, right? That it messes with the water, a resource that is also very, very precious, that it pollutes the water, that it uses a lot of water, that it can cause earthquakes, that it can kill ecosystems, all right? So there's like these two things that can happen and then a whole bunch of stuff in between, right? Well, this is what came to mind because all weekend long there was this fracking experience, or, more aptly, no fracking experience that I was invited to have. And it reminded me of this. But before I go on and start making the connections, let me just rewind to last Thursday when we finally had our summer solstice reset here. Some 90 breath work followed by a sound bath with crystal bowls here, and then Reiki that was offered to each person who was here. And before we had the event, I was talking with Becky and Illyria and saying, please know that there are spots where the wooden floors creak. And so be aware of this, okay? And they're like, that's okay, it's wood. It's not like it's at the hotel when there's like, the front desk is making a lot of noise and there's announcements coming, whatever. This is a natural thing. It's part of, like the architecture, and it's wood. It's like, it's life, right? Well, with 9D, you got the headphones, and so it can, kind of like just sort of like get into sort of no man's land, and you're not necessarily as aware of it. But with no headphones, when someone's walking around here and when there are crystal bowls playing and chimes and gongs and vibrations and whatever trying to like relax you and everything, it can be very jarring. And so I was very aware as the floors were creaking, because I'm very aware when I'm walking around doing 9D, and it was brought up during the share afterwards. And what was really interesting, and I really appreciated this, was that the person who brought up how the creaking floors impacted them said at first it was extremely confrontational, that it was really, really hard to ignore, that it was disruptive. But then this person decided to shift perspective and say, thank you. This is also a gift, because this allows me to open up and surrender or welcome the experience that I'm having, rather than try to fix it, rather than try to rescue myself, rather than try to alter the experience that I'm having or even kill the experience that I'm having. Okay? All right? Then fast forward a little bit to Art Level 2. This is where I was this past weekend in Vancouver, and I didn't get permission from someone in this room to talk about the fact that that person was there too, so I'm not going to say anything. But this was such an extraordinary experience. It was so incredible, very different for me from last year for Art Level 1, where I felt completely unraveled, completely dysregulated, and left this little pile of gooey jello that needed time to get back together. This time, I had my tools. I was regulating myself the entire time. I was completely open to what it was that was happening. And there were only a couple of things that I kind of bristled at, and I'm like, I don't like this. And another one which was like, ooh, I don't know if I can handle this. But the 5 principles that art introduces, and I feel like a total novice standing here on stage talking about this because this isn't my wheelhouse. But the 5 principles are: welcome everything, assume nothing, reveal your experience, own your experience, and honor self and others. And the three that really stood out for me, and just, I mean, all of it ties in with what we're doing here too, but the three that really stood out for me were welcome everything, own your experience, and honor self and others. And part of this for me, why they really stand out, is because right now I am also offering a lot of compassionate care to someone in our community, someone that several people here know. And this is actually my first super intensive, like this big kind of experience as a minister, offering this amount of compassionate care with someone who may be near the end of their days. And so I am there to be with this person. I am there to be present and welcome everything that is happening for this person. I'm not there to fix, to rescue, to alter, or to kill any part of that person's experience. And then there's an entire circle, an entire village of people who are so devoted to this individual, who have been rallying for a couple of months, who are loving this person up in all the ways that they know how. And one of the tendencies, and I am as guilty as the next person, is to want to make the person feel better, is to want them not feel what they're feeling so that they are more at ease, right? But that's not about them. That's about us, right? And so these 5 principles and these 3 main ones that sort of really stuck with me kept coming up over and over again throughout the weekend, and I just kept writing this person's name in my journal thinking, man, this applies, other relationships in my life, this is what I get to do, this is how I get to apply this. And it was really interesting because for me, I mean, when I heard about the wooden floors, it's something that I put up with, but it's a disruption that allows me the opportunity to remember who and what I am, to remember what I want to anchor myself, what I want to consciously choose to anchor myself as I have that experience, as I show up in the world. Am I going to allow the old creaky wooden floors or something that is hard or challenging or upsetting to guide how I react or how I create this experience? Because I'm creating my experience, no one else, not the stuff, not the old creaky floors. If anything, the old creaky floors are bringing attention to something that already exists in me that wants to come out. And if I try and go, oh, I don't want to hear those creaky floors, they're driving me crazy, oh my God, la 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 la, I'm focusing on something else, I'm not welcoming the experience, I'm not owning the experience, and I'm definitely not honoring myself, right? And so it was such an amazing example. And for me, the compassionate care is such an amazing example because every single moment I get to choose how I want to show up for this person. I get to choose how I want to show up for the community, how I can show up for the community. And when letting go of all the tendencies or all the desires of wanting to fix, rescue, alter, or kill an experience under the guise of, I just want to help. I want to make you feel better. I don't want to see you in pain. And I mean, it goes like in a split second, right? It's not about me. You know, it's not about the other person, it's about me when I'm trying to do that. And so the title of my talk today is, because this was an acronym all weekend long, No Fracking Allowed. So if you haven't heard it already, frack in this case is fix, rescue, alter, or kill. Advice? Oh, thank you. I wrote alter in my book. Thank you. Advice. All right. Thank you. Fix, rescue, advise, or kill. Now, I was looking for a picture that would be the perfect picture. And because disturbance is the thing that kept coming in mind, there were all of these do not disturb sign with the hotel things, right? I'm like, that's not quite it, right? And then this egg came up. And I thought, that's it. That's it, because we can look at that egg and go, oh my gosh, it's so fragile. It's so fragile, I want to take care of it. I want to make sure that nothing happens to it, right? Like it could tip over, it could fall, whatever. But the egg's experience is not our experience. And then there could be something inside the egg that needs to come out, right? And that's part of the experience that the egg is going to have along with whatever it is, the chick, that ends up coming out. And so I really appreciated the seeming fragility, of the egg. So my invitation here is to be present, to be as present as we possibly can be. With the first principle that I learned and was reminded of again through art, authentic relating training, welcome everything, is to allow everything to just happen. To know that life isn't happening to me, that I am creating the life experience that I'm having, and I get to choose how conscious I want to be with this experience that I'm creating, and am I showing up as the love, as the light, as the infinite potentiality that I truly am? Or am I allowing myself to react to the noises, to the hardship, to the challenges, to whatever it is that is going on that feels uncomfortable and isn't the preference, that I would normally want to have? So welcoming everything, owning our experience, owning my experience. I'm the only one who can have my experience. No one else can have my experience. And I wouldn't dare to presume that I would know better for someone else. And so I want to be present. I want to be available. I want to ask, what do you need? I want to be curious. What's that like for you? How can I support you? And I want to have my experience when I'm having an experience. And then the honoring of self and others. Heard a lot of this today in the shares of when people honor themselves, it makes a difference in how they relate to others and the world. And so all of this just keeps pointing back to remember who we are. Remember that we are love, we are light, we are spirit, we are source, we are God, whatever you want to call it, whatever it works for you. And we are infinite in nature. We are creative. We are constantly evolving, constantly expressing, constantly changing. In every single moment, we get to choose how we want to show up in this world. And so I am at a stage in my life where I really do welcome everything, because I know that every single moment is a brand new moment, a brand new opportunity to heal, to grow, to expand, to lean in, to be expanded by. And even when it's uncomfortable, especially when it's disruptive, that's when some of the biggest lessons and biggest ahas come. What a gift. And I'm the one who gets to open up that gift. I'm the one who gets to receive that gift just by welcoming everything, by being present for it all. So what I want to leave you with is, when we refrain from trying to fix, rescue, advise, or kill someone's experience, including our own, we allow ourselves the opportunity to welcome everything and surrender to what's happening, rather than disrupting our way into what we think we or someone else might prefer or be able to handle in the moment. In doing so, we allow sacred space for life to be lived fully, consciously, to trust and know that no matter what, we have it in us to do so. Thank you, and so it is.